Hello. Testing, testing.
Sounds good.
All right, what's up, everyone? Exciting week to be in the EOS community. Hope you guys are all doing well. I've been, I got hit by COVID, and my entire household had COVID for the last weeks. It's been a struggle, but we're all feeling much better now, and hard to not feel better with the EOS EVM announcement from yesterday. Nice price action that's been going on as well. Yeah, exciting times, and we've got an exciting EOS Fireside chat for you guys as well today. So on the agenda here, we're going to start with some rapid fire pitch sessions for Pomelo. And I'll explain a bit more about how that's going to go down in just a bit. Obviously, we'll be talking about EOS EVM. I'm sure many of you have some questions. I think this week we'll have Zack and Yves joining us as well, so hopefully they can share some insights on that topic. We'll be talking about some yield plus developments, and as well some scalability plus developments. And we'll talk about whatever else you guys want to talk about. So we're gonna give it a few more minutes to let people roll in. And in the meantime, feel free to write your EOS account name in the stream chat and get your name on the list for the pop tokens for this week. And feel free to say hi while we're waiting. Lots of people, 25 people already. It's gonna be a good show, I think. I've warned my girlfriend I may not be done in 2 hours. The household is prepared.
Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon. Who was that?
That was me, Tony.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So if you're curious about how these Pomelo pitches are going to go down, let me explain to you. So we've got 12 people lined up today that are going to share some pitches with us. And it's going to be, like I said, rapid fire. So that means everyone's going to have 2 minutes only to do their pitch. So people have been warned. They've hopefully rehearsed. 2 minutes goes by real quick. And then when there's 1 minute left in their pitch, I'm going to be playing this sound effect to let them know, hey, you've only got a minute left. And then again, with 15 seconds left, again, the clock is ticking. And then when the clock goes to 0, I will server mute the people that are pitching. So I'm going to be real strict with everyone, and so we're respectful of everyone's time, and everyone's going to have the same amount of time. So 2 minute pitch, you get muted after 2 minutes. And then I'm going to ask one question. So while you're listening to the pitch, obviously keep an eye out in the stream chat. I'll be sharing some relevant links for the pitch, so their grant and maybe other links that they've shared with me. And then if you have questions for this, for the grant, leave that question, write out the question in text in the stream chat. Once their 2 minute pitch is over, I'll choose one of these questions and ask the presenter, and then they'll have 1 minute to answer the question. Again, clock's gonna tick at 15 seconds, and then I'm gonna mute them after 1 minute. So that's how it's going to go down today. Most of these people that are going to be presenting have confirmed with me that they'll likely be staying until the end of the Fireside. So when we get to the end of the Fireside, when we're in the open mic section of the show, if these grant owners are still around and you guys want to ask additional questions to the grant owners, you can feel free to do that. All right, I hope that was clear. I hope that makes sense to everyone. It's just about 3:05 now, so we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna invite people based on when they confirmed with me. So first up, we've got Leon, but I don't think Leon is here just yet. So we're gonna skip him. We're gonna go to the next. Konner, yes, Konner is here. Little Mosh 21. How you doing? All right, little mic check. Your mic sounded very quiet. I'm not sure if I understood. If you want to try again.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Now you're coming in clear.
Awesome.
All right, so let me just get set up here real quick. So we've got Konner here. He's going to be talking about the Boid Universe grant. I will share the link in the stream chat. And all right, take the stage, Konner, and I'm going to start the countdown when you start talking.
Awesome. So the Boid Universe, what we've come back for season 2 for, we believe that the Boid Universe can be a very good way to introduce people to not only the blockchain, but in an effort to help solve issues like cancer. Boid has been around since around 2017, 2018. And what Boid is, the goal of Boid is a social supercomputer to help users can donate their computing power to, help solve and mark cancer markers, map precipitation for farmers in Africa, things of that nature. But the issue that we've had is that it's more of a set it and forget it kind of thing. And we believe that by introducing communities where people can come together and learn a little bit more and play fairly simple games, that they can have more interaction in this process and that they can be more involved and grab more people and help bring these communities of people together and helping solve these greater issues such as cancer and things of that sort. What we've done for season 2 is we've decided to open source our first game that we're putting on the blockchain when it is complete, and that being centered around our public good. And following that, we are going to be producing, which is started development actually this week, is called Boid Colony, and it's basically an idle kingdom builder / economic sim that users will be able to build colonies that represent NFTs and grow these communities around their different prospective communities, and allowing all behind this is the Boid application that allows users to donate their computing power when they're not using it for these greater causes.
Awesome. Right on time with the 2-minute pitch. Well done. Reminder to everyone, if you have questions, write them out in the stream chat as people are presenting. So the question I have is there an estimated time of delivery for this game? And is that impacted by the amount of funds raised in Pomelo?
So the first game that is being built is called Void, and it's actually in alpha testing at this moment. We started development on this long before Pomelo actually launched. The impact for Void won't necessarily be impacted by the amount of funding. The development of the following game, that does impact slightly, but the initial release of Void will not be impacted by Pomelo, or the quantity of Pomelo funding.
All right, great. Well, thanks. Thanks for presenting. Thanks for kicking off these rapid fire Pomelo pitches. Are you going to be staying until the end of the show today?
I'm actually at work right now, so this is my lunch break. So I will try to stay as long as I can, but
All
I will
right.
have to go get back to work. So
Yeah, understandable. Well, thanks for squeezing in a Pomelo pitch on your lunch break. It was great, and thanks for kicking things off.
awesome, thank you.
All right. Next up, do we have John from Old Timers in the house?
Yes.
We do.
Yes, we do.
All right. Hey, John. Thanks. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Let me share the link to your grant in the stream chat, and yeah, take it away.
Of course. Let's go. Just 2 minutes. Our goal is to create an open source code on the GitHub that people can easily create their own marketplace on EOS EVM blockchain network. The open source code should be customized for aiding a token, creating EOS EVM blockchain network like utility token for the payment on the marketplace for different types of services. And of course, the most important data of the marketplace will be on chain, caching data on the EOS EVM blockchain, and we already know that the name is the trust. What kind of the most important data? It is the vehicle identification number, and we have huge experience working on the Solidity because our first token was created 3 years ago. Our team behind Old Timers Software, if somebody from the chat doesn't know, it is the platform where people can buy and sell vehicles, and also we have services there for the restoration and also for the accident repair. Our 3-step is the most important. First, the token will be on the GitHub, and it will be on the new TrustEVM network. The people can use repository and also with small customization create their own token. For our platform will be on the React, currently is on the WordPress, will be set up that the token which will be created will be used like utility token. Old Timers Software is the marketplace for the buying and selling vehicles, but if somebody in the future wants to create marketplace on the EOS EVM Trust network, they can use for example, if they want to create.
All right, and we have our first server mute victim. Thanks, John, for that pitch. You went a bit over to the 2 minutes, so I gave you a little mute. There you go, you're unmuted. My question for you, again, would be related to the timelines that you're projecting for this project.
We saw that September will be the period where the mainnet on the trust will be launched, and we hope that everything will be ready until that time from our side, that we can launch in the September and October entire platform with the token.
All right, sounds good, and it's exciting to hear about projects that are already planning on leveraging the TrustEVM on EOS. That's absolutely great, and thank you very much.
It's our pleasure also.
Yeah,
the most important things is to be first. And
all right. Well, so far you're first. You're the first I hear of. So you're at least first there, and hopefully you guys are ready for the launch in September.
Yes, will be.
All right, awesome. Thanks for joining us today, John. Are you going to be staying till the end of the show?
Yes, of course.
All right, awesome. So we'll talk to you later, maybe. Okay, cool. Next up, let me see. Is Martin present with us at this time? I don't think so. Canelas? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. I'm certainly not. Sounds exotic. Are you around? I see you.
Isn't that Tiago?
Tiago, yes, Tiago. That's right. I see he unmuted his mic. However, we can't hear you at the moment. So maybe try to check your mic settings real quick. We'll give you a few seconds. If not, we'll get back to you after the next pitch. Yeah, well, you'll have to fix your mic, Tiago. Again, if you right click the mic icon in the bottom left of Discord, you can see some options in there. All right, let's move on to Bjorn. Are you around?
Absolutely, thank you.
Awesome. So let me share your grant, Lost Diamond grant, in the stream chat. There we go, and take it away when you're ready.
Thank you. Hi, EOS Community. We need to think big and we need to be more ambitious. And let me tell you why. The EOS mainnet has solved one of the biggest problems in the world: how to transfer money instantly to anyone in the world as easy as sending an email. This fantastic achievement is an advantage and opportunity to create innovative and groundbreaking solutions that will change the world. But let me set some numbers in perspective. The EOS mainnet has 5 million accounts. According to dapradar.com, EOS has approximately 350,000 monthly active users. And if you accumulate all the top dApps, there are approximately 10 million monthly active users in the total blockchain ecosystem. In comparison, Pokemon Go has 150 million users hunting virtual monsters. EOS, with instant transactions to anyone in the world, has both the advantage and opportunity to replace virtual monsters with real money in a killer app that we believe will go viral. That's what we are trying to do with the Lost Diamond project. If you agree that it's crucial for the ecosystem growth that we have ambitious projects that are crazy enough to think they can onboard millions of users and compete with Pokemon Go, please support us by donating to our Pomelo grant application. We have a minimum viable product and we are ready to test our go-to-market strategy. We need 6 months and $60,000 to prove that Lost Diamond has the potential to go viral. We will publish weekly YouTube videos to let you know how we progress. So please, Brock Pierce and the Helios team, Yves La Rose and the EOS Network Foundation, Wales, block producers, Eden elected members, and everyone else, please support our project and give us a chance to prove that all the work we have done since 2018 has the potential to become one of the killer apps on the EOS mainnet. We just want, like all you others in the EOS community, to show how awesome and groundbreaking the EOS technology is to millions of people. Thank you so much.
Excellent pitch, Bjorn. Clearly well prepared. I like to see that.
Thank you. There was a lot of noise in the background, so I'm not sure if everyone got the message. But
no, I think it came out clear. I think I've got some noise in my background a bit right now too. I'll work on reducing that. But yeah, so you say you've got a minimum MVP product already ready to go. When do you expect to launch the full product?
The full product will take maybe 2 years to show that to work. But we have a minimum viable product, so we are ready to test it. So we are ready to start up. We have made a marketing campaign but we will need some money to execute this thing.
All right. I like it. I like the ambitious nature of this project. Like you said at the beginning, we need to think big. I like it. All right. Thanks a lot for joining us. Are you going to be staying until the end of the show today?
Absolutely, to the end.
All right. We'll talk to you later then.
Thank you.
I got a curveball question, if I may.
No, you may not. These are not. You need to follow the rules, Hernan. If you have questions for the grant owners, you need to write them in the stream chat. Maybe you weren't there when I explained it at first. That's fine. I'll go over it again. I'll ask one question per grant during this rapid fire pitch session. So feel free to write questions in the stream chat. And then if not, at the end of this fireside chat during the open mic section of the show, a lot of these grant owners are still going to be there, and then we'll open up the mic to more questions. But thanks for joining, Hernan, and thanks for participating, as always.
No worries.
All right. Tiago, are you good to go? Still got some technical issues, looks like. All right. Next up, we've got Drew Block. I see you're in the chat. Andrew, are you here?
Michael check. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Michael check. Very good.
Nice. Cool.
All right. Let me share that grant of yours, Polaris Music, in the stream chat, and take it away when you're ready.
Oh, nice. The GIF is working. All right. Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm the founder of Ursa Polaris Records. We are veterans of the independent music industry, and our vision is to provide a direct connection between music and its fans. Most people don't know that only 12% of music revenue goes to musicians. The music industry is broken and has been broken since its inception. The business of taking advantage of naive musicians and creators has boomed and then conglomerated, and in the process captured a monopoly on guiding music discovery and distribution. We have spent the past 8 years piloting a subscription recording studio and creating laser-cut wooden packaging, and the whole time we were designing and redesigning a music map. From the initial sketches to incorporating hyperbolic geometry, to running it on a blockchain and using incentives to guide user behavior. The Polaris music map solves the problem of finding new music to listen to, and provides people a tremendously compelling way to explore and learn about their favorite music. It's a music encyclopedia that uses a hypertree visualization to represent the relationships between musicians. I encourage you to follow the link to play around with this random demo, so that should be one that you can share in there. And that shows how useful the hyperbolic geometry is for exploring vast data sets. Contributors to the encyclopedia are rewarded for their contributions, and the musicians represented in the encyclopedia are rewarded for their creations. Independent labels and individual musicians are the fastest growing segments of the music industry. And even though they have more tools than ever to record, promote, and distribute, they are now hamstrung in a different way. The sheer amount of music makes discovery difficult, and incumbents take advantage of this to steer radio and other discovery avenues. We want to change that and simultaneously correct for the historical injustices perpetrated by the music industry. Thank you.
Well done, Andrew. Thank you for this well-prepared rapid-fire pitch.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long have you been in the EOS community, or what attracted you to the EOS, for you to build this project on the EOS blockchain?
Well, I had thoughts about putting the project on the blockchain prior to learning about EOS. I was initially thinking about Ethereum, but it just does not make sense because it's not a financialized set of transactions. So when I learned about EOS in 2017, I don't think I bought any from the crowd sale, but I bought them on the market. So yeah, since I've got a Genesis account, I can rep that.
Awesome. Great. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for joining us. Are you going to be staying till the end of the show?
Yes, I will. And thanks everyone for listening. Much appreciated.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And I don't know if our guests realize the commitment it might be to stay until the end of this show. We have gone 7 hours before. I don't think we'll go 7 hours today, but we may go more than 2 hours today. All right, moving along. I'd like to invite Lennie to the stage to give us his pitch.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, Lennie. Let me share your grant here in the stream chat. The grant's called The Recaps, and take it away.
Yes, so I'm Lennie, and some of you might know me as a guy behind the ED member recaps on Telegram, and others maybe from Lumios early on after EOS birth, and Vigidac and Vigi Protocol. Those are the communities I mainly have worked with earlier years. Since March 21, Eden on EOS and lately fractally have been my main interests. I mention that because the project I'm thinking about is basically based on my own capacity. I didn't put on a timer on this end, so I fumbled. Give me a warning. But anyway, besides that, if you don't know me, just check out, if you want to know who the Lennie is, just check out the Pomelo site, search for the recaps, or watch the Generio's Pomelo pitch deck. Jimmy D did a 20-minute spill with me there. Then you get a little bit of an idea behind it. You can also search Google, because to sponsor or donate a little bit Pomelo is actually sponsoring me. I'm not a technician, I'm not a programmer, but the new recaps is actually meant to become a news and information aggregator, and mainly then for the EOS ecosystem, and in future, possibly sister chains. If we go cross-chain, well, we have started more or less. There are other sides of it that can be done, because the flow of information is massive. No one is able to keep up with it. So the idea is that you develop a team that scour through the areas that have community, so to say, pick that these we need to have help. All right, good. We find the nuggets, we find the pieces, the articles and similar from a neutral perspective, where it's something that can bring forth additional information that is of value to you in your interest areas. But this is all development to come. It's not a project plan or road plan in place or anything like that. It's basically me selling myself, my experience, my knowledge, and building up this thing, because I read everything more or less as soon as I can. So I just want to develop it further.
All right, great. I gave you a few extra seconds there, but thanks for the pitch. My question, I've seen your recaps in the Eden members channel, which I think are useful to me, because, as you say, there's a lot of information going on in the EOS community across all these different channels and media, and even though it's kind of my job to stay on top of it all, I have a difficult time staying on top of it all. So your recaps help me in that Eden channel. So what channels or are you going to be recapping, and also kind of where are you going to be publishing this information?
I'll give you an answer in 6 weeks. Basically, that's, this idea came up, and to enter Pomelo was only a few weeks back. And actually, I have a few of Eden members who actually expressed help and how to do it and similar, but I need to research it. But I'm tied up in a full-time contract, 10, 12 hours a day, up to 10th of June. So I can only do bits and pieces for now. From 10th of June, full speed. And then I'll be researching all these things and build it for the future. That's the whole idea. Telegram is because that's where most of us are. But of course, we're talking a website and similar different areas. I haven't got a structure as of yet. That needs to be developed for the long term.
All right. Excellent. Well, thanks a lot for that answer, and thanks for your pitch and for joining us today. Are you staying until the end?
Yes, I will stay to the end, unless you go for the 7 hours, because I got 10 o'clock here soon and I got to get up in 5 hours.
Okay, fair enough. I'll try to make it not last 7 hours. Okay, thanks, Lennie, and good luck with your Pomelo grant. All right, we had someone testing their mic.
Can you hear me?
Is that Tiago? Yes, we can hear you, Tiago.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. No problem. Glad we got it worked out. So let me share the grant link, which is the Hyperion grant link, and take it away.
Thank you all for being here. So we are on the Hyperion grant. We are talking about history API. This is important because whenever any user or decentralized application interacts with the blockchain, they usually need to query history information from past blocks to deliver the history of transactions in a wallet, or to use in any processing for any applications. Also, block explorers and analytics tools. So indexing and storing EOS is really challenging because of the volume of the blockchain, and like creating 2 blocks a second is really fast, especially if you want to replay the chain. And Block One deprecated their solution and announced they wouldn't do anything in that regard. So Hyperion was one of the solutions the community created. It was created by EOS Rio, us, the block producer. We are on the mainnet since the beginning and other chains as well. So Hyperion was developed by EOS Rio and open sourced. We currently continues developing the software, supporting operators and operating instances for different chains. In case of mainnet, this is really intensive in hardware because we have 30 billion documents on Elasticsearch. That's a 9 terabyte database. So we need really powerful clusters and collocated in special data centers. So we are asking support to pay for the collocation for an additional cluster, and also after that hiring engineers to improve the development and support.
Excellent. Thank you for that pitch. To be honest, I'm not well versed enough to ask you a relevant question, so I'm just gonna give you another minute if you want to continue expanding a bit on the grant, your team, or your plans for the future.
Thanks, Stéphane. So basically, the initial target for the Pomelo pitch is for us to be able to pay for 1 year collocation for this additional cluster that will allow us to have a development cluster for mainnet and a production cluster, making it possible for us to test new versions while we are still serving history and reducing the risk for disrupting the service while we're testing. So that's it. Please contribute. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Stéphane, for organizing this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tiago, for the pitch. And I would highly encourage donators to go check out the grant and donate to Hyperion. Okay, and I shared some links here in the chat as well, of course. Okay, let's go on. Is Alberto here with us today? I don't think so, not at the moment. Bywire, Michael, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome.
So this is Michael from Bywire. I shared your grant in the chat, and take it away.
Thank you, Stéphane. Bywire News is an EOS-powered, unique and convenient news portal, aggregator and app that provides readers with trusted, accountable, censorship-resistant, decentralized news and opinion from the very best independent news publishers who earn the majority of revenue generated. Since our launch on May 31, 2019, Bywire has delivered truthful, trustworthy, and accountable news to the world for free. We have never charged for our news, interviews, or video coverage. From EOS-specific news, general crypto coverage, politics, sports, and everything in between, we keep Bywire free because we believe that information and news should be both non-excludable and non-rivalrous. And we promise to keep Bywire free forever. Bywire is today more than just a news publisher. We are a decentralized, artificial intelligence and blockchain-powered news platform built solely for independent publishers, and we are often described as the Netflix for news. Bywire is today the home of Crypto Writer, EOS Bees in all languages, Nova Crypto, EOS Support, EOS Vision, and many more, including some of the largest UK independent publishers. You can access our news by simply going to bywire.app and downloading our iOS or Android apps. And you can access the very best crypto and general news all in one place, secured and verified by the EOS public blockchain. We need your support and contributions to keep Bywire free. So please support our journalism and our content creation. We do this because many news organizations, in particular those in crypto, produce news that is flattering, biased, and often just blatant propaganda in support of their own vested interests. Many condone this type of sponsored journalism in the hope that their token on crypto will someday moon, making them rich, and every now and then it does work. In fact, propaganda, lies, deceit, these are all effective tools that help the proliferation of tyranny, slavery, autocracy, and the over-centralization of capital. History shows us this. Bywire exists as the solution to these very issues, a business and publishing model based on free speech, truth, reputation, and accountability. guaranteed not by our words, but by our innovative and unique technology built to serve this precise purpose.
Well done. Great pitch. Very enthusiastic, well prepared. I'm impressed, guys. You guys came ready for your 2-minute pitch. I like it.
Thank
I
you.
like it a lot. Yeah, so I was kind of just enjoying the pitch. I didn't even think of a question. I like what you guys are doing. I'm happy to see you guys, on Pomelo and see you guys continue. If you have some other thoughts to share, I'd invite you to do so.
Yeah, sure. So we're developing a whole suite of artificial intelligence data analytics at the moment, and this technology is going to be able to be used to hopefully explore the EOS ecosystem in great depth and at scale. So we use machine learning to analyze all social media, all news articles, and to get beneath the surface of the individual EOS user to try and understand the psyche behind them. So we're doing a lot more with our data and a lot more with our content than just producing news. But primarily, we are the home of independent news, and we want as many independent news publishers, especially those in crypto, to publish onto our platform, which is totally censorship resistant and spread across 3 blockchains: the IPFS, the Library peer-to-peer network, and of course, the EOS public blockchain.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and thanks for that great pitch. I wish you lots of success on Pomelo.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we've got Corvin. Are you with us, Corvin?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're coming in loud and clear. Let me share your play to earn Pomelo grant and take it away.
All right. I'm Corvin, founder of Liquid. Liquid has been building its own game and countless tools that other game developers need to develop games on EOSIO. In my search for developers, I have had countless conversations and interviews. Most of the developers were just looking for jobs and had little interest in the decentralized space, as the usual games and their functionality are super limited compared to traditional games and engines. Whenever I showed these developers what we are capable of by using our SDKs, tools, and patterns, it suddenly created a huge interest on the other side. Developers who were not really interested in decentralized gaming and NFTs suddenly wanted access to our tools and knowledge to create something new and interesting on their own, without the usual limitations that come with other blockchain protocols. Tools and SDKs that we have built are open source and free of charge, but a source of knowledge is the missing piece. The Liquid Play to Earn grant is not for me and not to pay the salary of my team members building these tools, but for the community and for those who lack the knowledge to join our community as game developers. I'm convinced that knowledge is one of the most valuable assets of all. Those who want to join our community, those who want to build games on EOSIO need a source to acquire the knowledge by being inspired by and guided through a new decentralized world. Without the knowledge, it is so hard that many will give up after a short time and do not become part of our community. Liquid has already done 80% of the work. We have the experience, the tools, the knowledge, but to pass it on, we need you, the EOS community, and your support.
All right, great. Yeah, you have 3 seconds left. And
I have one sentence left.
Go for it.
Gaming and NFTs on EOS and other EOSIO-based chains would have boomed if we had the same tools a year ago. A chance we missed. But decentralized gaming and related things like NFTs are here to stay. So let's not miss similar chances in the future and provide the knowledge for the traditional gaming industry.
Great. That was more than one sentence, but I'll let it slide.
It was a long sentence.
You mentioned that the money is not going to you or to your developers. What exactly do you mean by that? Well, you mentioned going, for knowledge.
I wanted to say it's not going to the developers or my team members for building these tools. It's clearly just for the knowledge. It's knowledge.
Right. So the knowledge is the tools have already been built. A lot of them have already been built. I know you guys are continuing to build, and this is kind of just allowing the community to access all of these tools and the knowledge that is present inside your team that you would like to see distributed to the whole community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, well, thanks. Thank you for that pitch, Corvin.
I thank you.
And I'm not sure if you're able to stay till the end, but if you are, maybe we'll have more questions for you then.
I will try to stay.
All right. Okay, next up we've got Dogman with that would like to talk about his pitch. Dogman, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Stéphane.
Great. Let me share that link in the chat for the Eden Creators Grant. So talk to us about Eden Creators.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So this is Dogman, aka Dancing Joy, and thank you everyone for the great pitches and public goods and conversations so far. I'm really enjoying listening and looking forward to learning more. And thanks for the opportunity as well. I'm super excited to share Eden Creators with you today. So Eden Creators is a new media outlet creating amazing content to help everyone cooperate fractally and make the best experiences possible. We're creating exciting videos, music, graphics, art, writing, websites, and all kinds of multimedia content to help everyone understand and enjoy the benefits of Eden, EOS, and Fractally. In addition to creating exciting content, we're also creating and planting the seeds for hundreds of fractal communities to create the most helpful, fun, and creative world imaginable. We're looking for funding and creative people with all kinds of talents to help create amazing content, build creative communities, and make the best experiences possible. And if you're interested in learning or helping more, that would be awesome. And here are some options. So you can explore the exciting content on edencreators.com and share with friends. This site is still in development and many updates will be coming soon, but I'm working a lot and starting to look cool. That's edencreators.com. And there you can also see the founding story about how Eden Creators is inspired by the need to make amazing videos for the EOS community. And also I've been building Eden Creators for about a year since the beginning of Eden. You can also check out our featured content there. I made a debut music video and Fractally presentation and presentations about Eden Creators during both of the recent Eden elections. You can also see much more videos there and writing and art and communities that we're creating with Eden Creators. And soon we'll be launching on Twitter and Telegram and everywhere. So any contributions on Pomelo are greatly appreciated and super helpful. The funding raised will be used to help everyone cooperate fractally and create amazing content. And specifically, the funding will be used to help start fractal cooperatives, such as an EOS Fractal to reward value creators for EOS, and Fractal forums to help Eden make great decisions. And it'll be deployed flexibly to maximize value for Eden, EOS, and everyone in the world. So, yep, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Please feel free to reach out with any questions or comments. I'm very to hear what you think. And yeah, thank you, everybody, very much.
All right. Thank you, Dogman, for this great pitch. What is some of the content that is upcoming on Eden Creators that you're currently working on?
So you're welcome, and thank you for the question. And so far, there's 4 videos that are featured content, which are 2 of the videos from the Eden elections and a presentation that I gave during the Fractally meetings. So every week I've been making visual presentations that showcase what kind of things we're doing with Eden Creators and to promote fractal governance and Eden and EOS and so forth. So those are available now. I also mixed it with a music video because I've been writing an Eden song for the past year. So it's kind of a mix between a presentation and a music video with the song I wrote that I'm really excited about. And then upcoming, there's lots more content from basically all the Fractally presentations that I share and Eden presentations. I'm recording and I'm making just really cool presentations, as cool as I can. And then there's lots more content coming up. Like for a long time, I've been saving timestamps and saving screenshots of all of the most helpful content to help people understand and enjoy Eden and EOS and Fractally. So I'll be sharing much, much more soon with lots of great content for all kinds of purposes around that mission.
That's great. And for those of you who don't know, Dogman is now the one that's helping us create the EOS Hot Sauce every week, and he's been doing a fantastic job with that content. So I'm sure this Eden Creators will also feature some great content. Okay, thanks for joining us, Dogman. And are you going to be staying till the end of the show?
So I will be here till the end of the show. And thank you very much, Stéphane. And thanks, everybody.
All right, great. Okay, so that wraps it up for our rapid fire Pomelo pitches. There's still Alberto, Martin, and Leon that were signed up, but I don't think they're here right now. So if they do show up, then maybe we'll get to their pitches at the end of the show here during the open mic section. Can we have a drum off? Okay, yeah, lots of great content. I see there's a lot of chatting going on in the stream chat. I have not been able to keep up with it all. This has been feels like it was rapid fire hosting for me as well. But yeah, I'd love to see the engagement, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about Pomelo later on in the show. Okay, so let me just give a nice round of applause here to all our Pomelo Grant presenters that were all very well prepared for their 2-minute pitch. Love it. All right, so moving on to some other topics for now. EOS EVM, of course. Let's see in the chat, let's see some number ones if you were able to join the Twitter Spaces yesterday, and let's see some number 0 if you, unfortunately, you've missed it and have not yet watched the replay. So of course, Yves getting in there with the first number 1. Of course, Yves was there hosting the EOS EVM Twitter Spaces. I personally thought it was a really well done event, well moderated. We had some great information. We had some great guests. Drew Block coming in there with a 0.5. I guess he caught part of the Twitter Spaces. It did last 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a fairly lengthy show. And yeah, again, very well organized. Seems to have riled up the crypto community. I'm sure you guys have been watching the charts like I have since this event. It's been nice to see some positive price action on EOS. Clearly, people see the potential of the TrustEVM on EOS, and clearly people are hyped for the future. I'm obviously super excited for everything that's coming. You know, and that's not even considering all the other initiatives that are currently ongoing in parallel in EOS. So yeah, first of all, I'd love to hear from some of the people here what you guys thought of the Twitter Spaces. If you listened to it, if you have comments or questions, or just want to cheer for the EOS EVM, I'd invite you onto the stage.
So just I have a quick comment.
Yeah, go for it.
I listened to it. It is for me. It was a little bit disengaging, switching back and forth between English and Chinese, but I understand the reason behind it. I rewatch the video that it is English only, and I think it is more engaging, and I capture more information from it. So I encourage everyone to see it. I pass it to that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that comment. I agree that it is sometimes a bit hard to follow when you've got 2 languages going there. But I thought the host and the translator did a fairly good job. And then we did get an edited copy of that audio, like you mentioned, that was just released today. I shared the link in the stream chat just now. And that's basically the EOS EVM Twitter Spaces event from yesterday with just the English parts of it. So if you I saw a few zeros out there in the chat, you know, for those people, good to watch this video. I see you already shared this link. There we go. We've got it twice in the stream chat.
Yeah, so I'm sure everyone understands the reasoning behind the translation and how it goes back and forth. And I do agree it does slow things down. But the fact of the matter is, we as in the ENF, we're on like these firesides every week. Like the rants are in English. Like we're in the Discord and the English Telegram channels. So you guys have such good access to us, and there's not like a Chinese counterpart of Yves, for example. So the only way he could speak to the Chinese communities through these translators. So it was a great event, and what you guys probably didn't see was the promotion of it on the Chinese side, because like they even used I retweeted their version of the graphic, for example, and their graphic had like 20 different logos on it from all of these different influencer communities. They're called KOLs in China, and all marketing there is driven by KOLs, and they were in massive attendance at the event. As you guys saw, we had almost, I don't think we broke 400 at any given time, but we had like 390 listeners for an hour straight. And a big part of that was because all of these influencers all invited their own communities to the event. And then if you noticed, in between the AMA and the keynotes, there were like 4 or 5 different KOLs who spoke on behalf of their own communities, and they were all excited by what they heard. So I thought it was an awesome event. I know sometimes people bring up like Twitter ads, for example. You guys might not have noticed it, but ran a lot of Twitter ads for this event also. Is very successful, especially in the hours leading up to the event. I sprayed anyone who ever used an EOS hashtag in their life, anyone following specific accounts, they all got hit with like hundreds of thousands of impressions we paid for to get this event on everyone's radar. And I think one thing that came out of this event was that we need to do more Twitter Spaces. It's been something that we've discussed internally, and we're looking to do like an EOSIO coalition panel, for example, with the 4 chains involved, and talk about what we're doing. But I think there might even be an opportunity to move these fireside chats to Twitter, because and we don't have to do that right away, but what we need to do is we need to extend our reach outside of the EOS bubble, outside of the EOSIO bubble. And the best way to do that is through Twitter Spaces, because Twitter itself, they prioritize the Spaces event. So I get push notifications all the time when there's someone who I'm following who is a live speaker on some random Twitter Spaces about like NFTs or Web3. It's a great way to kind of pull in extra engagement. We had I don't have his name off the top of my head. I shared it in Telegram. We had an influencer who showed up at the EVM event with over 500,000 Twitter followers, for example. And those types of people aren't going to be joining us in these Discord chats, for example. So I think one of the biggest eye-openers for me was the reach that we were able to get on Twitter compared to any other event we've done. And that goes back to even doing like live streams on YouTube. Like even when Rob and I were at our peak in like 2019 doing the Everything EOS podcast and stuff, most we ever got at a live stream was probably like 200 people. And we had almost 400 at this Twitter Spaces event. And I think we could do even better. And the feedback that we've gotten from all of the Chinese communities was amazing. We're getting a lot of like private messages from people asking for more information. The chats have been very engaging in both the English and the Chinese community. So I think the event went way better than planned. I mean, it went as planned. I guess it was as good as we wanted it to go. But just so you guys know, so the English only version was published today. The live event went roughly 2 hours, maybe even a little bit more, and that was with the translations and some silence at the beginning while we were waiting for people to get host permissions and things like that. So the version on YouTube, the link was just shared in the group. It's in all the Telegram groups on our Twitter. It's 53 minutes, so it's a lot less of your time that's necessary to listen to it. And the next thing that we'll have is I'm in the process of getting it transcribed. So taking the AI transcription and then cleaning it up so it's human readable. That should be published on Friday. So if you don't want to watch the video or listen to it, for 53 minutes, there will be a text only format of the entire event and AMA. So you could expect that around Friday. And then tomorrow there will be a press release distribution on external medias that just kind of highlights that the event happened and explains that the TrustEVM was announced and things like that. And there's also on the Chinese media, which a lot of you guys don't see the marketing. A lot of marketing goes into the Chinese community and in the Korean community too, but more so the Chinese. there's already been, I shared it during the event itself. There were so many medias on the event. It would be like the equivalent of as if like CoinDesk was on at the event with a journalist listening, but just like the equivalent version in China. And they were pushing out flash news. There was 20 different flash news articles, which are essentially just like bite-sized news, like a paragraph or less. There was like 20 different flash news posts across like eight or so different sites during the event itself. And since then, there's already been about 10 more articles published. I could share the links to it, even though I know you guys don't speak Chinese, but Google Translate does a pretty good job at least getting the gist of what they're talking about. And the coverage has been really good. And I just I got the text of like a recap article that the TrustEVM team wrote. It's very detailed. It's 10,000 words. That's going to be distributed across all of the Chinese medias tomorrow. And then we're in the process of getting it translated into the English version. And we'll probably just post that on our blog, because Western media doesn't typically publish articles that are 10,000 words. So that's why we're doing the press release tomorrow. And then Friday, I'll have the full transcript for you guys on the blog. And then sometime, I don't have an exact date, once I get the recap, it'll just be a summary of what you'll see in the transcript, but we have that coming also. So just because the event happened doesn't mean the EVM conversation stops. The EVM conversation is just going to continue to ramp up. There's lots of other events and milestones on the TrustEVM and or the EVM Plus working group roadmaps. So this is going to be a continuous conversation. It's going to be a drip marketing campaign. You're going to have constant updates on this over the next couple of months leading up to the mainnet launch. And at this point, I'll stop my ramble, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of questions we've been asked. I've been trying to answer as many as I can, like last night in Telegram. But if anyone wants to kind of ask for clarifications on anything, or ask for follow-ups on anything, or has any questions, I'd like to open this up to just let's discuss TrustEVM, and which is the product name for the EOS EVM.
Yeah, great job, Zach, on organizing. I know you did a lot of work for this Twitter Space event. Really great work there. It turned out fantastic. I did see a question in the stream chat here. First of all, seems like there was a lot of support for moving over these firesides over to Twitter Spaces. So that's good to see. We'll see how that goes in the future. But Old Timers Offer, John from Old Timers Offer here asks, Infura or Alchemy will be with TrustEVM, and also ask about Hardhat.
Hardhat is fully compatible with the TrustEVM. So is Truffle. So is a lot of the other common tools. That's part of the RPC full compatibility, is all of the tooling that developers are used to on Ethereum are fully compatible with EOS. All of the Open Zeppelin contracts. Hardhat's the big one. It's like the testing framework and templating for contracts. That's definitely available. Infura is different. Infura is more infrastructure. It's kind of like if you needed to run your own Ethereum client for your dApp, instead of running your own infrastructure, you would probably use like the freemium model if you're just testing something with Infura, and they have a free model. And then they have a paid model for if you need like heavy infrastructure. TrustEVM won't have that, but it's not unique to TrustEVM. Like, for example, Infura doesn't run Binance infrastructure either, as far as I know. I do know they do some other chains, but I don't expect Infura to be supporting it. But the thing is that with the Force RPC compatibility, the nodes and the infrastructure providers on the EVM, on TrustEVM, they're like the equivalent of block producers, but they act as RPC nodes. So in a way, what you would typically pay for Infura for, you get for free from the network, from the node operators themselves who happen to be running RPC APIs.
Thank you, Zach, for the answers.
All right, how are EVM tokens work versus native EOS tokens? Like, what would it take for Tippet to support EVM tokens? Asks Mark in the chat. Oh, boom. Here we go. Zach just shared the massive list of Chinese media that has covered the event.
Yeah, that was just the flash news during the event. I could drop a full recap on Friday when I get like the full list of like the full articles. These are just flash news. But yeah, so what was the question? It was about the token.
Mark wants to support EVM tokens, with this Tippet app is what I understand.
So I mean, if anything's built for EOS tokens, for example, there's most likely going to be an EOS version and an EVM version of tokens. One will be wrapped, one will be native. But as far as supporting the tokens, if I would imagine if Tippet would support all of the EVM, if it could support Ethereum tokens right now, it would just use a different API endpoint to point to the RPCs of the TrustEVM. So if there's already compatibility for token support of any Ethereum-based blockchains, it would just basically be swapping out an endpoint, and it'd be fully compatible with the tools that you already have. Like that's the beauty of EVM full compatibility is anything that already exists will work for the TrustEVM. You literally just swap an API endpoint and it works.
Awesome.
And I guess I could just what? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we don't support Ethereum because it's too slow, right? We're counting on the half-second EOS to put the tip out first. We're like blockchain first. So we never tried to support Ethereum. And so my question is kind of like what it's going to take. And if it's a wrap token situation, we could support the wrap token easily. But
so usually...
Go ahead.
Usually when you're talking about like IBC and bridges, it's from one blockchain to another. So it'd be like from Ethereum to EOS. But in this case, from TrustEVM to EOS, it's kind of like an inter-blockchain bridge, like a cross-chain bridge, but on the same blockchain. So that function will exist. For example, the top token that's going to be wrapped is going to be EOS. There's going to be a bunch of wrapped EOS on the TrustEVM in all of the DeFi and things like that over there. So it will be a two-way bridge. That's part of the EVM product suite that we talked about in the what's coming next roadmap of the quarterly report. A bridge between EOS and the TrustEVM it's going to be very easy to wrap tokens back and forth. So if you're already set up for EOSIO tokens, I would imagine that there would be an EVM token on EOS. I just can't make any guarantees. I don't know, like, if it'll have a lot of DeFi activity and things like that. Like, I don't know if the best liquidity pool for it would be on DeFi box on EOS or on maybe DeFi box on the EVM. Like, I can't predict what that'll look like yet. But if you had a wrapped version on EOS, but all the liquidity was on TrustEVM, crossing the bridge is going to be the same cost as a transaction fee. So it's really simple. So if you just tipped with the wrapped version, the wrapped EOS version, then if anyone wanted to sell it on a swap and the liquidity was on TrustEVM, it'd be very easy to swap back and forth between Trust and native EOS. I'd imagine that any EOS token will want to wrap on EVM and vice versa. Like I'm sure there'll be documentation on it because that like tokens are pretty much one of the top like functionalities for a blockchain. So I'd imagine there will be documentation on that. And I'll even
bridges are part of the roadmap, right? So the bridges are in the works, and more information on them will come out before the launch. So in the next couple of months, essentially the current event that we had was really targeted towards developers, right? This is kind of like a developer preview right now. But if you look at the Q1 2022 ENF report, you'll notice that Q2, Q3, we've got a lot of the product suite that's going to be coming out alongside the actual functionality. And that's really what differentiates the way that we approached EVM with other methods. Is the EVM as it stands was the public good, that's the functionality, but it's not worth as much if then there's no products attached to that functionality, or if we don't ensure that somebody's doing something with that functionality. And that's where the Y Combinator team, which Doctor Who is a part of, amongst others, is taking on that role. And so I see other questions in the chat about, will they create partnerships and integrations with services like, and then Joshua Guild.xyz. Those are all questions that would be better directed to the product team, and quite early to answer. Generally, the answer is yes, there will be integrations and partnerships, of course. Just the developer preview is what released a week and a half ago. The event to make it formal is what we had the other day. This is an ongoing, essentially, piece of work or deployment over the next 3 months.
And just in case anyone missed it, and I think people probably have, because I saw like Nat from Liquid Apps wrote a question in the EOSIO Plus Discord group, which was previously the only place to discuss EVM. There's actually a TrustEVM category now. It's right below the EOS category, and they have a announcements channel, a developers only channel, and a community chat. So the TrustEVM product team and community management team and marketing team, partnerships team, they're all keeping an eye on that chat. There's also a Telegram chat. It's categorized for developers because, like Yves said, this is a developer preview. There's people that have been asking about how the distribution is going to work for the EVM token and things like that. And just so everyone knows, like, there's still a couple of months before any of that would happen. So all of it's not concrete, but it's pretty close. So that's why none of that information is like, it's going to be released when it's released formally. So as much as everyone wants the answers, just understand that this is the very beginning. We wanted to get the word out that the TrustEVM's here on the testnet and it's coming, and also to introduce the TrustEVM as a brand, launch their social medias, for example, launch their communities. But as far as and to let you guys know the name of it and that there will be a gas token, and we kind of mentioned the gas token on these calls before, but it probably got lost at the time. But as far as the distribution, there are benefits. There's a lot of benefits to EOS holders, but the distribution itself and the exact specifications and percentages and stuff, those will be released formally by the TrustEVM team. So we're the ENF isn't even the best people to answer that question because we're not the product team. We're involved in a lot of the conversations, a lot of the technology, but it is a different team. And I think
are the largest shareholder. Let's put that in context. The EOS token holders are the largest shareholders of the EVM product. So there's direct benefit if the EVM becomes successful, direct benefit back to the EOS token holders. The model and the approach that we took is very similar to what a crown corporation is in Canada. We had different ways of approaching this. One would be, I guess there's three different ways as I see them. One is that we sponsor and we fund the code itself, the public good itself, and we just don't do anything else. We just leave it and we wait until somebody in the community, any developer or any business picks that up and makes a product out of it. We obviously did not want to leave that to chance. We don't have the luxury of waiting. EOS does not have that luxury. And so really that wasn't an option. The other two options on the table were the ENF itself making a product out of that public good. Now, part of the issue with that is, as you all well know, the ENF team, until very recently, was only Zack and I. We didn't have any developers. We didn't have anybody else other than Zack and I. So that was really not an option either. And we could have grown a team to be able to do that. But what we want to do with the ENF is really keep the ENF focus as being EOSIO the product or EOS the product and not actually having product ourselves. So we don't want the ENF to actually run any applications or run any products. Think of it like the ENF is the operator of the EOS. I shouldn't say the EOS token, but I guess the shareholders of the ENF in a way are the EOS token holders. What we didn't want is that then similarly to what we saw with Block One or with other entities, is that once you have your own product, then the decisions that you're making are no longer based on what's the best interest of your shareholders, but what's in the best interest of the products that you're perhaps developing, and so we don't want to replicate that. We've seen how that's gone. We don't want to do that. And so we really want to remain as much as possible agnostic from a political point of view, where it doesn't matter who's in power, who's governing and such. We're just the operations branch. But also from a product point of view, we don't want our decisions and roadmap to be influenced by whether or not we have a particular stake in a particular product that belongs to us. And so the way that we're approaching it is very similar to what we talked about a while back, which was the ENF Ventures route, which is having shares in a product or in something that benefits the token holders. And if that is successful and that is being run by a third party that also has interest in seeing that success, that the EOS token holders come and benefit. Now imagine a world where, for example, and all that in context, again, I have to bring it up all the time. The ENF is a non-for-profit, and its mandate is to enable developers, businesses, and individuals to build on EOS. In order to keep our non-for-profit designation status, we have to deploy the capital that we do have as revenue back as expenses on the mainnet. We have no choice. It has to benefit that. And so the idea is if we can generate revenue elsewhere, then that revenue has to go back to the mainnet. Now, right now, the EMNF has a cost to the mainnet, right? We're leveraging tokens that are that come from inflation saving and or those that we had at the onset from the, I guess, legacy name and RAND fees. Now, imagine a future where the investments that the ENF has made now generate revenue. That revenue has no choice. It has to be offset by an expense as per our non-for-profit designation status, as well as our mandate as to where that needs to be deployed. If those particular bets are actually quite lucrative, they could come and offset, that revenue could come and offset 100% of all the inflation needs that we have on the ecosystem. So really the vision is to have at some point the ENF be able to continue operations without having any cost to the chains to do so. And it can't generate a profit, so it has to take that revenue and deploy it as an expense on the mainnet. The EVM is the first flagship product to test that model. And then the idea is then ENF Ventures would be kind of the scalable functionality of that process that we're now testing out with this. And so that's the third approach. Going back, if you've been following, I know I'm jumping here and there. The first approach was just do nothing and leave it for chance. Second approach, the ENF actually runs the product. I just explained why we weren't going to do that. Third approach, we have shares and we subsidize or we make a strategic bet like we have in whenever we're giving grants or whenever we're making Pomelo, for example, Eden, for example, the recognition grants, the blue papers, the working groups, etc. Those are strategic bets that we're making. But this is the first time that we're making a strategic bet and we're actually getting equity into that. And if that is successful, now we have incentives aligned. We've got that product team that has shares in that product itself. So they're incentivized to see this work well. They're incentivized to see this grow because they could benefit from that. We also then abstract, if you look at how traditional, let's say, public services are run, governments are typically the worst person to run products because they don't necessarily feel the cost that those products run, right? Because they're essentially using taxes. In our case, it's the inflation. And so the idea is then this product team is incentivized to see it grow, but because the token holders have made a strategic bet in them, we also benefit from that. The token holders also benefit from that. So the incentives are more aligned. The idea is that the operations should be leaner and more lucrative and or more strategic from their point of view, from the business point of view. And that really creates kind of that closed loop incentive mechanism that I think a lot of us thought of when we first thought of the ICO sale going to block 1 or EOS VC, where the shareholders would be the token holders. That's what we've been trying to create with the ENF, and really this is the first flagship product for that. And I saw some questions. Is TrustEVM a test run towards ENF Ventures approach? Well, I wouldn't say necessarily it's a test run. It is the first formal run. It's an actual thing. Yes. And ENF Ventures, think of the ENF Ventures as the scalable, functional equivalent of what we are currently doing with TrustEVM. And that's still in the works. That is obviously much more complicated. Even just for TrustEVM, I mean, we've had to incorporate, I think it was either last week or the week before on the Fireside chat, I mentioned that ENF USA Limited has now been created. We are in the process of creating more legal entities throughout the globe in order to be able to support this TrustEVM. And then likewise for ENF Ventures as well. So like creating the framework around this while still respecting the original mandate and mission of the ENF within that non-for-profit designation status and such is really something that's our lawyers and the accountants, and they've got nothing to base this off of. We are literally the first ones doing this as far as we can tell. And so it is, so I would say it's moving quite rapidly if you think that ENF was only created 7 months ago. And we're still on track to continue creating that framework, all coming back to the EOS token holders seeing the benefit. And I think it was Zack that mentioned yesterday in the chat, when you think about how much monies we've deployed so far in EVM, if you add the public good side of things and the EVM components and then the marketing for that and such, it's under $1 million. But that $1 million can have a significant payout to the EOS tokens in the long term if this really works out well. And so we still strongly believe that was a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer bet to make on behalf of the EOS token holders.
Hernan asks, who's the team behind TrustEVM? I mean, it's the TrustEVM team. When they launched their website, they might have bios. Like, it's a team of probably 6 people that I'm communicating with. And one of them, for example, Dr. Yarkin who you guys met for the first time on the Twitter Spaces, he's a PhD in cryptography. Other members of the team, I'm not sure of him, but other members of the team are all Y Combinator graduates. They're alumni, I should say. And they've had startup exits of numbers of over $100 million. They're super experienced in startups. They're very connected in the Ethereum ecosystem and wider crypto ecosystem as a whole. They're a Chinese and Singapore-based team as far as like where they're located. And they're very experienced. I mean, they've got connections to VC firms. They've got connections to other projects already on Ethereum who could potentially partner to deploy on the TrustEVM. They're very talented. I'm only on one weekly call with them every Tuesday night US time, but just from these calls, and they work night and day on their time, but they keep, for example, track of everything in a Notion board, like typical project management stuff. But the level of detail and how well they execute on their work and how I keep saying detailed they are, I could speak on that. As far as knowing them personally, I know them on a work basis, but I know Yves and one of the ENF board members, they headhunted this team. They one of our Asian counterparts who attends every crypto conference met them at a large blockchain or crypto conference, and they met over the course of weeks over the Chinese New Year holiday. So they were meeting during the holiday, which in China, nothing happens during Chinese New Year except family and feasts. And that's when the business deals were made to like have this team be the what is now known as the TrustEVM product team. So I think you'll be seeing a lot more of them. I can give you like first names: Ben, Josh, Sean, Doctor Who, but that probably means nothing to you. All I could speak on is how well they are working and their Y Combinator backgrounds. I'm super creepy. I usually follow everyone on LinkedIn and try to look at their backgrounds so I don't have to like ask them all the questions. But because, like I said, they're not U.S. based, they're not North America based. I haven't creeped on their backgrounds, and it doesn't really matter to me. I just care about how they execute. And as you saw with the success of the event yesterday, this is a team that could execute, and they'll continue to execute. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more from them at future events on their own website and through their own communities, because right now we're incubating them within the EOS Discord, for example, like the TrustEVMs in the EOS Discord. Eventually, in an ideal world, their project's going to get so big that they're going to have to spin out their own Discord, for example, and have their own communities, and they're not kind of incubating within ours. So that's all something that you guys are going to see happen in real time over the next coming months and years. So I'm really excited about this team, and I'm excited for you guys to get to know more of them. I know Dr. Who only spoke for a little bit during the event, but you'll probably be hearing a lot more from him in particular in the future.
We've got a few more questions. Hernan, how would we handle equity revenue? It's EVM token, so no difference as EOS token. That's a pretty simple one. How is ENF Ventures different than ENF USA Limited? ENF USA Limited was created to meet the demand of us having employees in the United States and being able to do payroll, being able to actually support them formally within a legal framework in the US. So that is really much or very much a necessity from an HR point of view and a financial and accounting point of view. ENF Ventures is completely different. So ENF Ventures, what I mentioned before, is going to be the venture arm whereby deal flows that the ENF can facilitate attracting external capital into the ecosystem. Again, similarly to TrustEVM, offsetting the costs borne on the ecosystem from the ENF if those investments pay out. But those investments don't come from the EOS token holders, and so there's no cost to them, but it can have benefit to them. So they're completely different.
I guess I'll just repeat some of the stuff I said in Telegram last night about the EVM token itself. It decreases the necessity to use the EOS token to pay for things that can cause ecosystem growth. So, for example, if the TrustEVM team wanted to onboard Chainlink, for example, or any Ethereum project that wants to be multi-chain, some of these projects to integrate on a new blockchain requires like technical integrations and actual man hours from the team. And sometimes they will offer to do so for a fee. In this case, with the TrustEVM, they would be able to work these strategic partnerships with other Ethereum projects to come build on the TrustEVM network. And their incentive would be offering them some of the partner distribution of the EVM token itself, rather than having to come to the ENF and saying, hey, ENF, we need $2 million of EOS tokens so we could pay this project to come do something awesome on the TrustEVM. That doesn't have to happen. They don't have to come ask for permission to form strategic partnerships that benefit the TrustEVM. Also, for like developer incentives or liquidity incentives, it could all come from the EVM token instead of having to come from the EOS token. So we don't have to rely on our own inflation to fund this other ecosystem. And this entire ecosystem is built on top of EOS. So whenever a transaction happens on the TrustEVM, yes, someone's paying with a gas token that's the token ticker EVM, but in the background, that transaction's still happening on EOS. It still costs EOS CPU to run that transaction. The EOS used to pay for that EOS CPU with power up is still going into Rex. So it all benefits and all ties back to EOS, and it'll still kind of benefit EOS in that way. Another thing is the shared liquidity pools. So I talked about this back in like September and October, and I linked to my message about it in Telegram last night. And it like more recently with the Fractally thing and mutual respect, whatever you want to call it, protocol owned liquidity, shared respect, mutual respect. there will be liquidity pools with EOS and EVM basically owned by the protocol itself. And that offers value to one, just gives liquidity to the token holders if they want to buy it or sell it in like larger chunks. But on the other side, a liquidity pool is typically 50-50 of value on each side. And if one token goes up at a much faster rate, because let's say it starts with a very low market cap in the single digit millions of dollars, and the other side of the liquidity pool is a token with a $2.5 billion market cap, obviously it takes a lot less capital to move up the value of the lower market cap token. So if you have a protocol owned liquidity pool, or a liquidity pool in general, and you have these two tokens and the lower market cap token moons, so to speak, that means that the liquidity pool is constantly rebalancing to be 50% of value on each side. And let's say there's 1 million EVM tokens on one side and it's equal to 1 million EOS tokens. These are just numbers I'm throwing out there. If the EVM token moons, because it starts with a very low market cap and it gets a lot of attention and buzz, then the only way that price can go up is if a lot of EOS ends up on the other side of the liquidity pool. So what started as 1 million on each side, all of a sudden turns into like 500,000 EVM on one side and like 5 million or 2 million, 3 million, 4 million EOS on the other side. However the ratio works, the only way you could pull EVM tokens out of that liquidity pool is by replacing them with EOS. So what that does is it takes EOS out of circulating supply basically, because it's going to be locked in this protocol owned liquidity pool. So it's essentially taking EOS out of supply and letting EOS token holders share in the upside of the EVM token itself. When I presented this idea back in September or October, I was talking about other EOSIO based chains, because in the year before that, like for example, Wax and Talos both mooned. They did very well. And it caused some people who have been holding EOS to be a little bit salty, because these other, you could say like these other chains are using our technology that we paid for with the ICO, and they're doing better than us. EOS had no upside in Wax going up or Talos going up or Ultra going up. EOS didn't have mutual respect, we'll call it, between those chains. With the EVM and TrustEVM, we have mutual respect from the very beginning. When this project is brand new with a low market cap, and EOS stands to gain from the upside, because this project will have orders of magnitude of upside potential. And the better the EVM token does as far as market price and value and market cap, EOS is going to benefit, because the better the EVM token does, the more EOS that's going to come out of supply and go into these liquidity pools. Hope that made sense.
I was a bit slow on the sound effects there. This made sense to me, Zach, and overall feels very bullish. And yeah, excited to learn more. Got lots of chatter in the stream chat. Let's see, what else do we have? Does TrustEVM have unique features compared to other EVMs aside from the performance advantages of the EOS chain? Asks Andrew.
So, I mean, the speed, block speed, half-second block speed. The only other chain that advertises a faster block speed is Solana. They advertise 400 milliseconds. But, I mean, we've seen kind of the congestion network failures that they've seen. So I'm not, like, super familiar with their tech. But there's no other blockchain with a faster block time or at least advertised block time. So there's that. There's the cost of transactions. There's other chains that are cheap. But when I answered that Infura question earlier, it actually pointed out another benefit that I didn't even think of, and that's the fact that because the RPC servers are being operated by the node infrastructure providers themselves that run the consensus of the EVM, that's another value add, because typically you need to pay for RPC access, or at least you have to pay after a certain amount of bandwidth. So that could also be seen as a potential upside, but this is something that just came up on this call. I definitely need to run it by Matthias from EOS Argentina and Dr. Hu from the TrustEVM team to validate that this is true. But I think that might be the case, is having that API access as part of the infrastructure providers and what they're getting paid for through the network incentives and consensus. Another value, I mean, it's separate, but yield plus. So this also ties into the EVM token. is Yield Plus. The blue paper for that should be coming out within the next couple of weeks. And what's going to be proposed there is the options for liquidity incentives. It's only planning to incentivize EOS token TVL and EOS native USDT. So all of the DeFi that sprouts up on the TrustEVM so that one, the TrustEVM team could use the EVM token as a liquidity incentive to grow DeFi on their own. But then we're going to have this Yield Plus option, which still the blue paper needs to be published. Then we need to kind of discuss with community and make sure everyone's on board with it. But if anyone wants to take advantage of the TVL incentives on the TrustEVM, the only metrics that count towards TVL are going to be EOS tokens and USDT tokens. So it gives upside to EOS because I keep pulling it out of circulating supply. The more EOS or wrapped EOS in this case that's locked in DeFi on the TrustEVM, that's less EOS that's in the circulating supply. That's less EOS that could hit the market. That it's really good for DeFi. It gives yield opportunities. So if you hold EOS, that you could actually earn good yields on it. So the days of getting 2% from Rex plus a proxy, ideally you're going to have multiple options of places where you could park your EOS or park your EOS plus a stable coin or plus a other token for liquidity pool. Ideally that the yields on this are going to be hopefully double digits until the liquidity grows to the point where it should be double digits unless it diluted so much because there's so much TVL that it wouldn't be. But it's going to benefit EOS with the EOS is the cornerstone. EOS is the flagship of all of this. EOS is making it all possible. And EOS initially will be the most common trading pair in the TrustEVM DeFi. All of the Solidity-based projects that launch, if they're a DEX, for example, or an AMM, I can't imagine there being another trading pair that's bigger than EOS. Maybe over the long term, EVM will become a popular trading pair also. But if that were to happen, that just means that EVM was successful at growing its market cap and being successful in general with onboarding users and dApps and things like that.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Zach, for elaborating the Yield Plus. I think we had this as the next topic or one of the next topics. I can also dive, maybe Steph, do we have other questions on EVM or we want to talk about the Yield Plus more?
Sounds like we're going to hear from Yield Plus, Denis. So let's have at it.
Zach went on a big rant. We couldn't stop him about talking about Yield Plus. So I think it'd be a good segue.
Good segue for sure. What do you got for us?
So like I said, it's Zach did elaborate on a lot of the initiatives that are going to come out of Yield Plus. But just want to give you a little bit more of a heads up. The Yield Plus is there's a EOS working group. It's a community-led initiative, and the teams that are behind it is DeFi Box, EOS Nation, Origin, so UX team, Greymass, Pizza, and EOS Asia as advisors. And Yield Plus has the goal to create economic incentives that brings more liquidity and yield earning opportunities on EOS mainnet. As a result, this will also bring a lot of development in the EOS DeFi ecosystem because of these liquidity reward systems. And this will grow the overall total value locked in DeFi. Zach also mentioned that initially this will launch with EOS and Tether as one of the core assets. So this will be the core main pillar assets that are going to be calculated in the TVL rewards. This will be the two assets that you will need to prove your on-chain liquidity to claim rewards through this Yield Plus initiative. And in the later stages, we're going to introduce other tokens like stable tokens, bridge tokens, and potentially TrustEVM support, like the token itself, and anything that is supported on both EOS mainnet and the TrustEVM network. So the Yield Plus has the intent to support both of the chains at the same time. So you don't have to pick and choose which network. The intent is to support both networks. And
So I'm looking forward to seeing all the innovations that are going to come out of the sort of the DeFi ecosystem, both on the TrustEVM and EOS mainnet. I'm looking forward to seeing what type of protocols come out of this.
So I'd like to ask a question, Denis, on behalf of Glue Dog, because he's not in here, I don't believe. So all of the TVL is denominated in EOS, right? So for example, if the value of EOS goes up, then the amount of tether that's required to be in the TVL to meet a certain tier of threshold, that would also have to go up, right? Because the bar is set in EOS.
Correct. So as you when you claim your rewards will be denominated in EOS, and your TVL equation is going to be always denominated in EOS. So if EOS goes up in price by, let's say, 2x, well, if all of your assets are in tether, then you will be earning less EOS because the amount of USD valuation will be less. So EOS will be worth more. So ideally, what you would try to do is you would try to have a balance ratio between tether and EOS. That way, if the market goes up, then you still have that 50% worth of EOS. If EOS goes down, then you at least have that tether to kind of support the price action going down, and you would have actually more. You would be claiming more EOS because you have that tether balancing off. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good. And some of the reasoning behind only initially counting Tether and EOS is because a lot of these other liquidity programs, they can be manipulated very easy, because when you create a brand new token out of thin air because you're a brand new DeFi project, you can manipulate the liquidity and the pricing to say that you could say you have $100 million of TVL, but really there's no liquidity to sell even $1 million of that TVL. So by focusing on the cornerstone assets, the most liquid assets on the EOS network, it means that the only incentives are for legitimate liquidity and not for kind of fake, I guess fake liquidity, or not liquidity that you can't actually sell into because it's not actually liquid. So that was the reasoning behind using those assets. But as we have more bridging and legit tokens, that list could expand. But phase one, the phase that you guys are all going to see in the most immediate future, if it's all approved, it's just EOS and Tether. And that's the reasoning why, is that it cannot be manipulated, so that the projects earning the most EOS rewards are just the best at manipulating their numbers and pumping their tokens with low liquidity.
But also incentivizes people to bring in USDT on chain and or have EOS. So even if you have, for example, your token, let's call it the Zack token, and there is a pair, and the Zack token is in a liquidity pool with another token, it incentivizes that other token to be USDT and or EOS. That way, you still have that as being counted as part of your TVL, right? So you'd still get not 50%, but give or take, let's say 50% of that benefit of your TVL. So it still encourages that. That's the incentivization to keep the focus on EOS.
Correct. Yeah, and like I said, focusing on those hard assets, those hard market cap assets, EOS and Tether, it's almost near impossible to manipulate that unless you have EOS or Tether.
For security.
For security, yeah. There's many ways. Yeah, like on Ethereum, it's very common to have a lot of wrapped assets. So if you look at a lot of the protocols, they have a large amount of TVL, but that TVL sometimes is counted 3, 4 different times because you're wrapping a lending protocol, and then the lending protocol is wrapped into a yield protocol, and then the yield protocol is wrapped into something else. And at one point, you don't know where that $1 is, and you've counted it 5 times. So this is just to prevent those metrics of the double and triple and quadruple accounting. However, if other mature assets do rise up, we can be looking into supporting more assets later on down the road. But there would be a sort of a risk assessment made to support those assets. So we're just taking the safer, more reasonable approach to making sure that it's extremely hard to gamify unless you have EOS or Tether. Any other questions or?
So this is new information, right? Like this has not been published anywhere. We're dropping some alpha in today's Fireside chat.
I think we've talked about it, but I think there's some maybe more information. But still, again, the details will come out more once the blue paper is.
This will benefit EVM as well, right? So people are asking, like, how does this benefit? Well, because the EVM as well would encourage Ethereum applications or other applications that be able to benefit EVM that would be able to benefit from the fact that we have EVM compatibility to also lock in EOS and or USDT, which then benefits EOS, and then for them to be able to get access to some of the incentives created from Yield Plus. So everything really, really ties back in together towards EOS, regardless of how you look at this. And I guess, why didn't other people do this? Well, one of the disadvantages and big downsides of EOS is we're late to the party, and we don't have any of this now. One of the advantages of EOS is we're able to actually look back at what everybody else is currently doing and really design something from the get-go way more comprehensive, way more synergistic than what others have done, which was build something, build upon it, build upon it, build upon it, and then maybe then the foundations are slightly shaky or there's less synergy. We're able to, we not by design, this was not planned, but EOS is late to the party, but now we're able to take advantage of that.
Alo. Aleyküm kardeşim, sen neredesin ya? Vallahi ben şimdi herhalde bu adam çok yoğun ya da dükkanı bıraktı gitti. Ben de oturdum, vazgeçtim yani.
I don't think that's a question. Yeah. Yeah, great. Like I said, we're modeling a lot of the initiative programs, the liquidity incentive programs from other chains that have been successful at releasing these types of initiatives. So the two big chains that we were looking at is Phantom and Polygon with Aave's sort of initiatives. So that's great that EOS can look back at successful initiatives from other chains that have done this successfully and to see their impacts on how much, based on the rewards that they've given to their program, how much TVL has been attracted, what is their price increase, what is the attention of how many DeFi protocols have been onboarded because of these programs. So you can see a lot of success through the blockchain Phantom. They've attracted a lot of protocols to their chain because of these initiatives. The initiatives were really, really high. So we might be taking more of a conservative approach because of the, there's still a limit of how much rewards that can be given. But it does work. If you attract liquidity with incentives, liquidity will come. So it's more of just an equation, and applications will have to kind of be creative on how to attract liquidity to their protocols, because it will be quite competitive to attract liquidity.
I want to just in the chat, because Denis has something that you said. You said extremely hard to gamify, except if you own EOS or Tether. Just to add flavor to that, in this case, it was reference to having your own other token, and then your token,
like a wrap.
Denis token, can be the entry point of potentially security issue. In this case, if EOS itself is the security issue, we've got bigger issues than whatever is in the application that's locked. It's EOS itself that now is the security risk. And likewise with Tether, if Tether itself is a security risk, the whole blockchain ecosystem is going to crumble. It's way bigger than EOS. So it's in comparison to having, in this example, let's say the Eve token or the Denis token, which is much easier to game than the chain that you're using itself and or the underlying stable coin that underpins all of blockchain. So no, those are not security risks that we would even be able to mitigate. So irrelevant in the equation.
Exactly. The big thing is just really preventing sort of derivatives of another asset and then counting that derivative as the one asset. So if we count the hard asset, the EOS and the Tether, it's really hard to fake it, because the only way that you can prove that you have EOS is to have
Is
EOS.
by having EOS. Yeah, so these are not security risks.
Yeah. And if someone can fake having EOS, then then we have an issue with EOS.
Then it's EOS the problem. It's not EOS.
Yeah, so it's just to have the hard assets. But later on, in the support, the later stages, we can evaluate, having wrapped Bitcoin and wrapped Ethereum, and there's going to be a lot of the bridged assets that we can support, but they will have to go through sort of a security analysis and a sort of risk asset analysis to make sure that we are supporting assets that are, that have truly undervaluing value and large market caps. But yeah, thanks for the question.
There's an interesting question as well that pops up quite a lot, and it's been addressed, but I don't think it's been addressed in the way that people expect it to be addressed. So is there going to be some burning token process? And I think right now, Zack addressed it when he talked about locking EOS, right? So if you take EOS out of circulation, it has the same effect as burning that EOS. It's very similar. And so a lot of these incentives that we're talking about actually lock away EOS, which then create deflationary sentiment or create deflation on the EOS token itself. And a lot of these initiatives that we're talking about, including the TrustEVM, can potentially create those conditions for EOS to become deflationary. Likewise, what I mentioned earlier with ENF Ventures and with TrustEVM as the flagship product, if the ENF no longer relies on inflation to continue its operations, but it continues having the mandate and it has to deploy any revenue that it has back onto EOS without actually costing EOS anything, it's potential at some point that inflation is now no longer needed. More tokens are now being locked, but the function of the operation function or the deployment of capital still continues existing, which again is in a way that very similar to a burn of tokens. It's creating the environment for EOS to, in a way, or I guess more realistically, be deflationary.
Yeah, and it's all about strategic bets. With having like protocol liquidity, like every project that sprouts up through, whether it be something similar to the TrustEVM, how it came out of a public good and became the product, or once there's ENF Ventures and it's making strategic bets from using external capital, not inflation, but the EOS network would still get stake in whatever this project was. Some of it will be equity, but some of it will also be tokens. And if it is a token and it's a project building on EOS or on the TrustEVM, you could also have the shared liquidity pools between those projects, and then EOS token holders share in the upside, because every new project starts with a very low market cap and has the upwards potential of a market cap in the hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars. If that were to happen with any of these projects, and we're going to see it first with the TrustEVM, if any of those projects are successful in growing their market caps, it's going to result in more EOS being taken out of circulation, because the shared liquidity pools between the EOS network via the ENF or whoever, and using the tokens from whatever this new project is, using the EVM as an example, if those projects and if those tokens are successful, the more strategic bets there are, the more chances that there are that some of those are going to take off. And it only takes one unicorn. One unicorn can make the difference of millions and millions of EOS being pulled out of circulation and just being tied up in a liquidity pool with a protocol on liquidity where nobody's ever going to pull it out. Nobody's going to care about its impermanent loss, because typically if you're in a liquidity pool early on a new project and that project goes 100x, you're going to get wrecked on a permanent loss if it's your personal funds. But if it's protocol-owned funds, it's more or less a service to the network and a service to the token holders. And that service is the liquidity. And the service is also the shared upside to the EOS token holders, because if these new projects were to do very well, then it's going to always result in a lot more EOS being locked up and taken out of supply. But it's not a burning mechanism per se, but it has the same effect of EOS being taken out of circulation.
Where do these EOS liquidity pool funds come from that become locked up? That's a really great question. It could be from savings is the likely current starting position, and or for example the if the funds that the ENF currently have access to in EOSIO grants are no longer needed, well then that account. But yes, from savings essentially from the inflation.
Yeah. So let's give an example.
They no longer be needed, right?
Yeah. So the other thing is like in lieu of equity, if it's like tokens, for example, like with the EVM, the EOS network essentially gets some amount of tokens, and I don't have that amount. It's not concrete. It'll be public when it's public, but essentially the network will be the owners of a certain amount of the supply. So you basically just match that with EOS, like Yves said, from savings or from grants, and you lock it in with a smart contract into a liquidity pool. And which liquidity pool that would be, whether it be DeFi box or some new protocol that launches on the EVM, that's not decided yet. We'll cross that bridge whenever everything's live, and we'll have the first example of that will be the TrustEVM. But as long as the network owns both tokens, you could either own both tokens and let them sit in your wallet collecting dust, or you could put them to work in a liquidity pool and share the upside in the newer token, which would in this case be the EVM. And this will just be the first example. I can imagine there being many more projects like this in the future. But this will be a great test case. I think it's going to serve as a prime example of how EOS can share in the upside in all of these strategic bets.
Hernan, that's a good question that you should ask the product team when they're ready to start taking answers like this. Again, make the differentiation between the network and the product. That is a good question for the product.
Who's got the questions?
Well, maybe just add to this because I kind of mentioned it during the Twitter Spaces the other day. One thing that's significantly different than what we've been seeing over the last couple of years in EOS, more specifically, none of this is aspirational thinking. It's already there. There's no. It's like the EVM is now functional on Jungle. It's not. The ENF has been reporting on things that have happened or that are in the progress of happening, not things that are pie dream in the sky that we might undertake in 4 years, and it would be great if it happens. These are actual tangible things that are currently already happening. And this is why when we report on things, and you guys kind of get the alpha here because we're able to do so in English, but the strategy is always, once per week, we update the community on things that have happened, that are done through the blogs, through the reports, through the Twitter Spaces, etc. These are all concrete things. They're not aspirational language. These are actual, tangible initiatives that are either underway and we're able to report on where we are in those steps, or that are complete.
And we execute. I mean, EVM was only announced and only started development in early January, late December, somewhere around Christmas time, maybe. In less than 4 months, we deployed to a testnet. Like, that is an incredible accomplishment if you think about it. To go from like a concept that everyone wanted, everyone talked about. This is when the ENF launched, EVM compatibility was one of the first things that came up. We vetted some teams, we interviewed a couple teams, found out that EOS Argentina was the absolute best team to do it, signed the contract, and within less than 4 months, we have a working product on a testnet. And it's
and
going
within
to be
that same time span, this is another thing, is that people say, but if you're focusing on EVM, how could you possibly focus on other things? Well, during that same 4 months period, we also formed the first ever coalition between 4 EOSIO chains, whereby Telos, UX, and Wax, as well as EOS, have now joined forces. And we should be seeing either later today or tomorrow the first financial transfer that'll see $2 million put it into an EOS account because it'll be on chain in EOS, but with funding coming from the 3 other chains that I just mentioned. And those are just 2 of the initiatives right now. And then that's in tandem with the blue papers, and that's in tandem with the other files that you're seeing. There's a lot happening, and the EOS token holders for the first time are now the shareholders in this. They're now the ones driving this approach by design, legally as well. So that there's no other way. It cannot happen any other way.
And just so everyone knows, so we stopped there was a period of like a week or 2 where the EOSIO plus working group calls were not shared. And a lot of that was Yves was away, I was away, and now we're back. So starting with last week's meeting, these meetings happen every Thursday. We publish within a couple of days. The meetings are now public. So if you want to see what the coalition is doing between EOS, Talos, Wax, and UX Network, I think the conversation of the first call we published, it's on the YouTube. It's very interesting. And what you'll find the alpha on is one of the very first working groups coming out of the coalition, not even just EOS, is Scalability Plus. And they had their first meeting yesterday. So there's initially all of the working groups, EOS funded them. We funded Core Plus, Audit Plus, API Plus, Wallet Plus. But it was really to the benefit of all EOSIO chains. But when we came up with the concepts, they were under the EOS alone because we didn't know if we were going to have a collaboration between these other chains. We wanted it, and we knew that they would benefit from these blue papers, but there was nothing concrete at the time. But now what we've seen is we formed the coalition, which is the very first time that all of the chains have come together, and every chain was given an opportunity. 4 were willing to put their money where their mouth is. And now that we have this working group, or this coalition, now we're going to start seeing working groups coming out of that coalition, and they're going to be funded by all of the EOSIO chains involved with it instead of just EOS. So we're already making progress where all of the things that benefit all EOSIO chains, now instead of EOS footing the bill, it's all of the chains in the coalition footing the bill. So that's actually another cost saving to the EOS token holders. And I've explained it before also. So the other cost savings, because we needed Scalability Plus regardless of if Talos, Wax, and UX wanted to come to the party. We've hired the best engineers. We have the best talent to do it. We're going to do it with or without them. And we invited them to come along for the ride. And they're coming and they're contributing. And we're going to see more of these working groups. So not only is EOS token holders saving money, because now instead of, if we needed a new feature, so faster finality is at the top of everyone's list in the coalition based on like the weight order of priorities. Everyone wanted faster finality. If EOS were to fund that themselves because we want it to, it would be 100% of the cost. But because of the token weighted distribution of this coalition, EOS is footing about 70% of the bill, and then the other 30% from a mix of the other chains. So there's a 30% cost savings right there, flat out. But then the other aspect of this is any feature, functionality, working group, anything that this EOSIO coalition needs, it's going to put it out to tender with an RFP, which is a request for proposal. So for example, faster finality, there will be a scope of work defined and maybe a rough budget estimate of saying, okay, here's the scope of work, here's what we think it's going to take to build it. They're going to put it up to tender. And then any team anywhere who's qualified to go after that RFP, they're going to put in a bid. They're going to say, I can do this bid. I could deliver it by this date. I could do it for this price. And here's all of this evidence that I'm like, trust me, I've got this huge list of experience. There's certain items on this list where the ENF engineers are the only team capable of fulfilling them. Ideally, we will see more teams like that grow, maybe from like the Talos core dev team or the Wax team or the UX team. Ideally, all the chains will be competing, and that'll offer cost savings to everybody because then everyone will have to kind of underbid their prices and be more competitive, and that'll be good for everyone. But for right now, let's say faster finality. The ENF and the EOS network by proxy would be bidding on these projects at a competitive rate, not asking for 3 million EOS for 5 features, for example, but it'll be a competitive price. But then it'll essentially be EOS contribute 70% of the treasury for the EOSIO coalition. So we're already getting the 30% cost savings there. But then we're able to put a competitive bid in on every feature that all of the chains agree that they want. And that bid's going to actually, it's not going to be an absorbent price, but it will be above like the cost of the developers, for example, because the alternative would be hiring a software team like OCI, for example. They're contractors also. They're going to charge a contractor rate. And they're perfectly qualified to take on these features also. So whenever I said the ENF's the only team that could actually bid on these, I'm actually wrong, because OCI could probably bid on anything that the ENF could bid on. But that's essentially creating a second cost savings, because the first cost savings is paying 70% instead of 100%. But then the other cost savings is you're actually able to take money back out of that treasury that EOS paid 70% of, take capital back out of that treasury and deliver it back into the ENF to fund its own developers. So then those developers are funded even less by the network inflation. So it requires even less network inflation to fund the operations of the ENF and the engineering team of the ENF. So we're constantly reducing pressure and need on EOS inflation in a number of ways that we've talked about on this call. And this is going to be a prime example of it. If faster finality is one of the first bids that go out, I think we'll probably be we'd probably be the team that takes on that bid, and we'll be able to have some numbers to kind of understand some of the cost savings. Obviously, I guess it won't be external, all of the numbers, because we're not, like, everyone's salaries and stuff is their business, but there's cost savings, and you'll see that throughout the growth and maturity of the EOSIO coalition. And as soon as we're able to, we'll be publishing a consolidated roadmap of all of the features. So one of the first agenda items of the EOSIO coalition was to rank order the top 20 priorities of every chain individually, based on all 75 proposals in the blue paper, plus about 15 what we called ad hoc items, which were items that were not covered in the blue paper, but were things that people wanted. So for example, RAM optimizations is something that Wax really, really needs right now, but it wasn't tackled in any of the blue papers. So that item was on the list. And the faster finality wasn't on the blue papers either. But the first order of business was putting these 20 items together and then rank ordering them between the chains, like basically taking an average of all of the scores. And then now what's happening in these EOSIO coalition calls, and you can watch them on YouTube. There will be another one in a couple of days because the meeting's tomorrow. You're going to start seeing this list of 20 shrinking itself into maybe a list of 5 or 6 priorities, which are going to be kind of like the first orders of business. And you're going to start seeing the deliverables within the next couple of months, because as soon as the coalition decides on what it wants and what it needs and how it's going to fund it, the work's going to begin immediately. You've seen how fast we can get things done, and I don't think this is going to be any different. So I'm really looking forward to the EOSIO Plus, and I just wanted to point out to everyone that the calls are public again. They're on the Everything EOS YouTube channel. And we'll also be sharing on the ENF blog every other week. We're going to keep a cadence of doing written summaries also of everything happening within the EOSIO coalition. So plus the fireside chats, as we always do. We share everything usually before it even gets blogged about, typically on these calls.
Fantastic stuff, Zach and Yves. You guys really are doing amazing work for the EOS ecosystem. Feel like I should go buy more EOS right now. All right. Any more questions for EVM or Yield Plus? Or Yield Plus, or the coalition.
I guess on the coalition, if you're a developer on this call, there's going to be ample opportunities. If you're sharp with C++ and WASM and everything that is EOSIO, like, these RFPs are going to be coming to tender. So in an ideal ecosystem, we want this to be competitive. The more teams that are capable of committing to and bidding on these proposals, the better. So whenever I say like faster finality or anything else that's going to come out of it, please, if you think that your team is capable and you've got the resume to prove it as part of your bid, I would love to see multiple bid offers on any of these initial proposals that are going to come out of the EOSIO Coalition Working Group.
All right, while everyone is digesting all of this very nice and important information, actually going to throw it back to the Pomelo pitches. I actually messed up earlier and I forgot to invite Jean to do his pitch earlier. 100% my fault. So I don't know, Jean, if you're still around, if you want to do your 2-minute pitch, we would love to hear it at this time. I see you've unmuted, but I can't hear you just yet.
Better hurry up. We'll have to drop more alpha. Come on.
Hey.
Up.
Hey.
He speaks.
There we go.
Sorry, my mic failed, but I'm on. Anyways, I pulled the plug and I'm on the computer, so.
It's working. It's working.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's hard to follow up that EVM talk, but definitely thanks, Stéphane, for the.
But you've got everyone's attention, so at least you're coming in at a hot point in the Fireside chat.
Yeah.
So what's the name of your grant here? I'm going to pull it up and share it in the stream chat.
Oh yeah, it's 3D objects for NFTs on EOS.
Perfect. So let me just share that in the stream chat. And yeah, go for it, Jack.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so this is my second season, and I'll be working on with mainly for 3D objects on the NFT platform for EOS. In the first season, I created an energy usage article of EOS, and with that, we used building energy models, an XML file and a GLB file, which both files can be used to be viewed in a web browser. So these files are also available on my grant page. So if people wanted to follow along, it's kind of more of an interactive educational resources. I understand we got 2 minutes, so probably won't get all that. But anyways, interacting with these objects over the web is an important feature that displays layers of information about the content. So for example, the XML geometry file from the energy analysis can be viewed with the Ladybug Spider tool. So we can do data analysis. And this same model was also exported to the GLB format just to see how this object feels in a virtual world like Mozilla Spaces. So this next season the project dives into the core components of 3D objects and reviews standardized file formats such as GLB to write recommendations about implementing this type of content as an NFT on the EOS blockchain. So donations for this grant will help with market research, development, and marketing outreach. And our goal is to improve the usability of 3D objects as EOS NFTs. So this article will be similar to my work from season 1, where the content will be produced in order to facilitate this exercise of building a high quality 3D NFT object. I'll be evaluating standardized file formats to integrate with Web3 marketplaces, and I'm interested in discussing these types of ideas with the community. So I create also in the grant page a Telegram group, and that's linked to just to coordinate and to provide some feedback and work through this process.
All right.
Yes.
Great. Thanks for that pitch, Jean. And so maybe you can talk a bit about the next steps that you're undertaking for this grant. Yeah, talk about the next steps if you can.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So the next steps, this previous work was kind of very specific and was done in SketchUp. I'll be shifting over to the Blender platform for software for modeling the object. So just trying to create a standardized workflow that's free and open source that everyone can use. And then the next step is to kind of build content specifically for using the GLB standard to kind of import into those virtual worlds to kind of simulate what it would look like on an NFT. So part of this kind of project is I'll work on these resources, and then I'll do some testing and try to improve the overall experience and share those resources with the community.
All right, awesome, Jean. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for sharing about your 3D objects for EOS NFTs Pomelo pitch. I hope it's successful.
Thanks.
All right, at this point, I'd like to open up the floor to anyone that's part of this call right now. If you've got questions for some of the grant owners that pitched earlier today, now's the time to get on the mic and ask them. I see that many of these grant owners are still with us over 2 hours later. And also, if you have other questions about Scalability Plus, Yield Plus, the EOSIO Coalition, the TrustEVM, and all the other great topics here that we've been discussing today, feel free to jump in. Question for Pomelo team. If you could highlight what category seems to be underfunded. All right, great question, actually. And let me shill my own tweet from this morning. So I actually published a 13 tweet thread this morning about Pomelo, sharing some of my thoughts so far, thoughts and impressions on season 2. Let me share it right here in the stream chat. I highlighted a few grants that I feel are still underfunded. For example, the Trimbot grant, where Trimbot, I think he's doing a fantastic job on Twitter. He's one of our best EOS Twitter influencers right now. And for some of you, in case you missed his pitch last week, I can encourage you to go listen to it on YouTube on last week's Fireside. If you missed it, he did a really good job explaining it. But real quickly, he's not taking any of the money for himself or for salary. It's all going back to pumping these tweets on EOS by promoting them, by running EOS meme contests, etc. So I think that's a really great grant. I think that's going to have a lot of impact. I think, Twitter hype is super important in the crypto space. I'm sure we all know that. And I think, Trimbot's a great candidate to help us promote EOS on Twitter. So that was one of the grants I mentioned. The EOS game development SDKs and Liquid Bible from Corvin, who we heard from earlier today, I think is also underfunded. Gonna give a shout out to the Immutable Realms grant as well. And then also, I shared in that tweet a Medium article by Stan, CC32, who shared the tech-oriented grants that he donated to. I'm not qualified to, evaluate the technical grants. So then, I reshared his article, which I'll share in this chat as well. So that's my answer on which categories seem to be underfunded. I'm kind of part of the Pomelo team. I'm helping promote Pomelo, but I'm not part of the team building it. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And, as a reminder to everyone in here, I'm sure you guys know, maybe some of you watching on YouTube later on, the deadline for your donations for Pomelo is this Saturday morning. So we've got 2 more full days, just over 2 days left of donations. Encourage you guys to get out there and donate. If you haven't done so yet, there's 140 grants that were approved. So definitely maybe reserve an hour to go over all of these great grants. There's really some gems in there. And overall, I know the Pomelo team is very happy with how the season is turning out so far. We have more individual contributors than we did last season. We've raised, I think we're going to raise more EOS this year than we did this season than last season. And by raise the EOS, I mean the total amount of EOS donated. And we'll be sharing more stats, in the coming days. But yeah, overall, I've been really impressed by the team building Pomelo. I've been impressed by the community engagement, the amount of donations. So overall, it's been real positive. And, this is season 2, and season 3 is coming up shortly. We're aiming to have 4 seasons a year. There was a bit of a longer delay between season 1 and season 2 as we're still building out some of the features on the Pomelo platform. But moving forward, our hope is to have these seasons be regularly published every 3 months or so. I see a lot of people are sharing their grants in this stream chat. Love to see it. I encourage you guys to support these grants from these people. A lot of them are community members with Genesis accounts. They're in here in the Fireside chats every week, supporting the community, contributing to the community, and I love to see them get some support. Doug,
I think it's
that
about
handle.
that time. You got anything else? One more piece of alpha. So ENF has our 4th engineer was hired and started. I think on Friday he started. So there are now 4 engineers, all super senior, top world class level, heavily experienced in EOSIO. His last job title was Profi Engineering as a manager, and he's now an engineer for the ENF. And as soon as his LinkedIn's updated, it'll be very easy for you guys to figure out who he is.
Love to hear it. Keep poaching those top EOSIO devs to work for EOS.
The future of EOS is in our hands and the EOSIO coalition, and we're retaining that talent. We saw what happens when we don't retain talent. We lost Diffuse, for example. We lost so many teams over the last few years. People left Block 1 and joined other ecosystems. Like Hedera has a bunch of people that used to be in our ecosystem, for example. Luna has people that used to be in this ecosystem. We can't let this experience and talent go to waste or go to other ecosystems. I'm super happy to be accumulating talent with the ENF, and I'm super happy about the relationship we have with OCI and all of the teams that are going to be able to contribute from the other EOSIO coalition teams. Hopefully they'll get more experienced on protocol upgrades and other things that aren't the protocol, like the wallet SDK, for example, with Greymass, hopefully getting going on that. So I'm just super excited to see this uptick in development. And I'm in all of these new Telegram channels. So I used to only follow like the EOSIO dev Telegram channel, which is where most of the people hang out and chat. But now I'm in all like the Scalability Plus group, the ENF engineering little group. And it's just awesome seeing all of this brain power all kind of talking about the current bottlenecks of EOSIO and how we're going to tackle them. And there's just so much happening right now. And I'm just really looking forward to having something more cohesive to share with you all of like what's coming out of it, whether it's coming out of the EOSIO coalition, from some internal thing with the ENF or whatnot. But all of the scaling ideas and the bottlenecks that are being addressed, it's just really exciting time to be in EOS. I think we're going to see more development over the next year than we've ever seen in any other period of time. 2018 was probably the peak for development, leading up, and somewhat 2019 leading up to EOSIO 2. But I think this next year is going to be the most innovative year for EOSIO that we've ever seen. And I think every year after that, we're just going to keep impressing ourselves and competing with ourselves to be even better. So I'm super, super excited.
Amen indeed. All right, gonna give you guys a last minute to get some questions in, and then we're gonna wrap it up for this week.
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap for today.
Can I please ask one question before we end?
Oh, yes. Get in there. One more question.
Thank you. Bjorn from Norway, the Lost Diamond Project. I just wonder what the status is about the ENF grant framework.
Good question. We talked a bit about it last week. Zack, did you want to take this one?
I mean, it's live. All the instructions are on the GitHub and in the blog post that we shared a week or two ago. You fork the repo, you put in your proposal, and then there's a list of grant evaluators. So the grant evaluators are 3 of the new ENF engineers. It's Areg, Matt, and and Bucky. Plus, another grant evaluator is a man by the name of Bart Wyatt, who is the former VP of engineering at Block One. He's also an evaluator. He's not with ENF.
Yeah.
But basically, you just fork the repo. You submit your proposal, and all of the evaluators that's their job. Is to evaluate the proposals and then reach a consensus amongst themselves on whether or not to fund those proposals. And the consensus numbers are all listed on the grant framework. So, obviously, the less amount of money, the less consensus needs to be reached amongst the evaluators. But the program's live. There's already, if you look at the repo, you could see who's already applied for grants. So it's live. You could start applying today, or you could have done it a week ago or whatever. So it's live. People are going to look at your proposal. If you make a proposal, it's going to get seen.
I did it 14 days ago. I applied. So did I do something wrong? Since I have not heard anything.
So Ted is not on the call. I'm not part of that. So I can only speak that it's live. I'm guessing that it's like there's most likely, and I'm speaking on myself here, is that there's probably a cadence of when the evaluators are going to meet and kind of decide on these things. I don't think it's like in real time, like every time a proposal comes in, they immediately start evaluating. I think it's like once a month or once every couple of weeks, but I'll try to get that answer for you. And I'll also try to get an answer of how to let a grant know if it's not been approved, because that's kind of one of the issues that like EOS VC had, was they would drag things along for a very long time and let you think that you're going to get money and then just kind of rug you a little bit. So I'll also try to get you a better answer on how to find out if your grant has been evaluated, but it just wasn't approved, because leaving it up in the air is annoying. So I'll also try to get you an answer on that. But the 2 people that would have the right answer are not on the call anymore. They hopped off. So I don't have that specific answer, but I will get it for you. If not before the next Fireside chat, then definitely on the next Fireside chat.
Yeah, fantastic. Just a short reply would be very nice.
Sounds good. I'll ping them.
Thank you.
All right. So that's going to wrap it up for this awesome Fireside chat. That's how I feel right now about EOS. And so thanks everyone for joining. Join us again next week, probably still on Discord. Maybe we'll move over to Twitter Spaces after that. I know the reactions seem positive from the community here about hosting on Twitter Spaces, and I do agree we'd probably get even more people to join these awesome calls if we were on Twitter Spaces. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining, and go EOS!
Go EOS.
Go EOS.
Go EOS.
Go
man.
EOS.
Go EOS. Go.